¿Quiénes somos? Hemos rehecho nuestras...
Yo acepto que estés con...
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The film Our Fault, Colpa Nuestra, stands as the final emotional culmination of a journey that began several years earlier with the adaptation of Mercedes Ron's best-selling Culpables trilogy, and its arrival marks the ending of a cinematic arc that ignited global romantic drama fandom. Emerging from Spain's growing wave of glossy, character-driven youth storytelling, this chapter takes place 4 years after the heartbreak that divided Noah and Nick, a couple whose chemistry and conflict defined the fabric of this cinematic universe. The movie opens not with immediate drama but with a tone of emotional quietness, a stillness that has settled over both characters after years of separation. In the world of the story, time has passed but not healed, and the memory of their past, passionate, chaotic, painfully unfinished, continues to echo beneath their new lives. The film immediately builds upon that inner unrest, emphasizing how the past is not an enemy defeated but an emotion waiting to be faced once more. Noah has tried to ground herself in professional ambition, discipline, and a life built on logic rather than impulse. She represents growth, restraint, and a careful attempt at self-restoration. Nick, on the other hand, has matured from a rebellious, wealthy young man into someone burdened by the legacy of his family and the expectations of a business empire he never truly wanted. His outward success does little to mask the heavy emotional residue left after Noah's departure. The core of the movie lies in how these two individuals, who once shared reckless, all-consuming love, must confront each other again after years of silence. The event that unites them is the wedding of Jenna and Lion, characters who once stood beside them through the tumult of their earlier relationship. The wedding location is filled with romantic symbolism, a celebration of eternal union becoming the arena in which two people who once shattered each other must stand face to face again. The cinematography lingers on meaningful details, glances across the room, the awkward stillness of two people who recognize each other's breathing before recognizing each other's voices, the tension in their steps as they move in the same space after years apart. This setting is not accidental, it reflects the motif of the trilogy itself. Love is both unpredictable and inevitable, both destructive and healing, and sometimes the true test is not in falling in love but in learning whether love can survive memory, pride, and regret. The dialogue in these early scenes is not explosive. Instead, it is restrained, filled with unfinished sentences and long pauses, mirroring how real emotional reunions often unfold, fear masking as indifference, longing hiding behind politeness, and the unspoken becoming louder than anything said aloud. From here, the film expands into its broader emotional themes. Noah and Nick represent a generational portrayal of love, two young adults shaped by trauma, social pressure, parental mistakes, and personal desires that often collide. Their relationship was never simple, and the film does not attempt to simplify it now. Instead, it deepens the complexity by showing how growth can occur separately but not erase what once existed together. Noah's attempt to rebuild her identity outside the shadow of her past with Nick adds nuance to her character. She is not the reckless girl she once was, she is confident, measured, yet still emotionally vulnerable when confronted with her former love. Nick, meanwhile, carries the weight of unresolved resentment. His love for Noah has not diminished, but it has hardened, covered in layers of pride and the remnants of abandonment. His journey throughout the film revolves around protecting what is left of his emotional dignity while being unable to resist the pull toward the person who once disrupted his life. The supporting cast strengthens the emotional tension of their reunion. Jenna and Lion serve as anchors of loyalty and truth, representing the life that continued in their absence and the friendships that held history together. Their wedding becomes a microcosm where the past and present collide. Marta Hazas and Yvonne Sanchez bring nuanced performances that ground the story in emotional realism, offering perspectives of wisdom, comedic relief, and familial tension. Each secondary character contributes to the larger emotional architecture of the narrative, reflecting different viewpoints on love, forgiveness, and adulthood. This prevents the story from existing solely within Noah and Nick's emotional bubble. Instead, it becomes a canvas of interconnected human experiences, where every character embodies a different lesson about relationships. While the trilogy has always focused on interpersonal drama, Our Fault elevates the series through its exploration of emotional maturity. The movie frequently uses silence, atmospheric sound design, and close-up cinematography to emphasize the inner turmoil both characters face. Shots of the wedding venue, natural landscapes, and interiors convey a sense of romantic melancholy, beauty intertwined with sorrow, clarity interwoven with confusion. These moments reflect the film's overarching artistic approach, to portray love not as something glamorous and perfect but as something fragile, layered, and deeply human. The pacing of the story allows a slow burn of unresolved emotions. When Noah and Nick do speak with honesty, the dialogue is sharp, vulnerable, and charged with history. Their arguments no longer feel like youthful explosions, instead, they carry the heaviness of adult responsibility. They question not only their past decisions but also the person they have each become. Love, in this film, is not a force that naturally reunites, it is a choice that must be consciously made despite pain, fear, and pride. This level of emotional introspection elevates the movie beyond typical romantic drama formulas, making it resonate with audiences who have experienced real heartbreak and real attempts at rebuilding. The performances of Nicole Wallace and Gabriel Guevara remain a central magnet of the trilogy. Their chemistry is not purely physical but deeply emotional, built on the history of the previous films and strengthened by their ability to portray internal conflict with authenticity. Their interactions, whether in moments of anger, longing, or reluctant tenderness, hold the audience in immersive tension. Through subtle expressions, shifts in body language, and layers of silence, both actors demonstrate how the deepest conversations between two people can happen without words. The final act of the film brings the emotional arc to a powerful conclusion, providing the closure that fans awaited. The story's resolution embraces both realism and hope. It does not claim that love is easy, nor does it pretend that time erases wounds. Instead, it suggests that love is an evolving choice, one that requires vulnerability, honesty, and a willingness to confront the parts of oneself that feel safest when hidden. The ending serves as a thematic mirror to the trilogy. Love began with chaos, was tested through separation, and finally reaches resolution through emotional truth. In the broader context of filmmaking, Our Fault showcases Spain's growing influence in global streaming cinema. Prime Video's distribution allowed the trilogy to reach more than 240 countries, expanding the reach of Spanish-language stories and introducing international audiences to new talent. The direction by Domingo Gonzalez and the production quality by Poughkeepsie Films reflect a polished, modern aesthetic that balances intimacy with style, creating a visually pleasing environment that enhances emotional storytelling. Each element, from script to cinematography, from music to costume design, aligns to build a cohesive world that feels both contemporary and timeless. As a cultural phenomenon, the Culpables trilogy captured the global imagination because it speaks to a universal experience, the intoxicating first love that shapes a lifetime, the heartbreak that becomes a defining memory, and the complex journey of discovering whether love deserves another chance. Audiences connect to Noah and Nick not because their relationship is perfect, but because it reflects the messy, uncertain, passionate complexity of real human emotion. Our Fault delivers that message with finality, offering an emotional experience that lingers long after the film ends. The emotional weight of Our Fault is amplified by the film's careful attention to memory and nostalgia. Throughout the story, flashbacks are not merely expository tools but immersive emotional experiences, allowing audiences to relive the intensity of Noah and Nick's earlier love and their equally intense separation. Each flashback is framed with a deliberate softness, often filtered through warm light or diffused colors, which contrasts with the cooler, more restrained palette of their present lives. This visual distinction subtly communicates the difference between the passion of youth and the tempered self-awareness of adulthood. These moments remind viewers that the past is never truly gone, it continues to shape behavior, decisions, and desires in ways both conscious and unconscious. By interweaving these memories with the present narrative, the film highlights how love and heartbreak are cumulative forces, layering experience upon experience to form the complex emotional beings Noah and Nick have become. Music plays a critical role in this storytelling. The soundtrack, carefully curated for each emotional beat, transitions seamlessly from melancholy strings during moments of introspection to more vibrant, hopeful melodies when vulnerability is met with connection. This auditory landscape mirrors the journey of the characters, reinforcing the tension between restraint and surrender, between caution and courage. At pivotal moments, silence is used just as effectively as sound, a pause in conversation, the quiet of a room after a heated exchange, or the brief stillness before a kiss, allowing the audience to feel the gravity of unspoken emotions. The interplay between sound and silence creates an intimate atmosphere, inviting viewers into the private inner worlds of the protagonists. The film also explores the idea of identity and self-discovery. Noah and Nick have grown independently, yet their growth is constantly measured against the backdrop of their shared history. Noah's professional ambitions and her pursuit of personal stability contrast sharply with Nick's inherited responsibilities and his struggle to reconcile personal desire with family expectations. Their reunion forces both characters to confront questions they may have avoided for years: who are they without each other? Can they maintain their individuality while reigniting the connection that once defined them? The narrative does not provide easy answers. Rather, it emphasizes the complexity of love as a force that challenges personal growth while also offering opportunities for transformation. This thematic exploration elevates the film beyond a conventional romance, presenting a meditation on the balance between selfhood and partnership. Supporting characters enrich this exploration of identity and relational dynamics. Jenna and Lion, for example, serve as more than just catalysts for the protagonist's reunion. They embody alternative models of stability, trust, and shared joy. Their wedding, vibrant and meticulously designed, functions as a microcosm of the world the main characters inhabit, a world where love is celebrated yet complicated, where joy and tension coexist. Secondary figures such as Marta Hazas and Yvonne Sanchez provide both comic relief and wisdom, their interactions with Noah and Nick revealing aspects of the protagonists' personalities that might otherwise remain hidden. Each supporting character, no matter how minor, contributes to a nuanced social ecosystem that frames the central love story within a broader human context, reflecting the interconnectedness of relationships, loyalty, and personal growth. The cinematography of Our Fault deserves particular attention for its role in shaping the emotional experience. Director Domingo Gonzalez and his team employ a combination of intimate close-ups and expansive wide shots to visually narrate the story. Close-ups capture micro-expressions, a flicker of hesitation, a slight tightening of the lips, a fleeting glance, that convey the unspoken tension between Noah and Nick. Wide shots, particularly during outdoor sequences or wedding scenes, provide breathing space, allowing the narrative to expand and the audience to witness the broader social and emotional landscape. This visual language mirrors the oscillation between internalized emotion and external action, reinforcing the film's central preoccupation with the interplay between private feeling and public interaction. One of the most compelling aspects of the narrative is its handling of conflict and reconciliation. Noah and Nick's conversations, often layered with past grievances and current desires, demonstrate the film's commitment to realism in emotional storytelling. Arguments are not resolved within a single scene, instead, they build over time, reflecting how real relationships evolve. The tension is punctuated by moments of tenderness and vulnerability, creating a rhythm that mirrors the push and pull of deep, enduring love. The screenplay, co-written by Domingo Gonzalez and Sofia Cuenca, excels in this regard, balancing dramatic intensity with moments of levity and human warmth. By allowing the characters to navigate conflict organically, the film avoids melodrama and instead achieves a resonant, emotionally authentic tone. Costume and production design further enhance the narrative. Wardrobe choices for Noah and Nick are symbolic as well as practical, reflecting their inner states and social positions. Noah's attire often features structured, professional lines that underscore her attempt at self-control, while Nick's wardrobe balances sophistication with subtle rebellion, hinting at the tension between expectation and personal desire. Production design similarly supports the narrative's emotional realism. The wedding venue, the interiors of their homes, and the various public spaces they occupy are meticulously crafted to feel lived in, visually expressive of character and theme. Every element, from color palette to furniture choice, contributes to an immersive world that feels both authentic and narratively rich. The film's pacing is deliberate, allowing the audience to inhabit the emotional spaces of its characters fully. Quiet, contemplative moments alternate with charged emotional exchanges, mirroring the unpredictable cadence of real human relationships. This pacing encourages viewers to reflect on the choices and compromises inherent in love, particularly in a narrative centered on reunion after prolonged separation. By resisting the temptation to rush to resolution, the film honors the complexity of its characters' inner lives and maintains narrative tension through subtle emotional layering rather than overt plot contrivances. Furthermore, Our Fault engages with the universal themes of forgiveness, vulnerability, and second chances. The story illustrates that love's enduring power lies not in its ability to persist without challenge but in its capacity to withstand and transform adversity. Noah and Nick's journey exemplifies this principle, highlighting how trust, honesty, and emotional courage must be continually negotiated. The narrative also acknowledges that reconciliation is not always linear or simple. Setbacks, miscommunications, and lingering doubts are integral to authentic emotional development. This treatment of love as a dynamic, evolving process lends the film a depth and sophistication that resonates with audiences across cultures and age groups. As Our Fault progresses, the narrative delves deeper into the interplay between memory and present reality, showing how past experiences shape current perceptions and emotional responses. Noah and Nick's encounters are laden with layered meaning. Every glance, every hesitated gesture carries echoes of previous moments of intimacy, betrayal, and joy. These moments illustrate a fundamental principle of the trilogy: love is cumulative, an accumulation of shared histories, unresolved tensions, and enduring desires. The film meticulously constructs these layers, often juxtaposing past and present through clever editing that allows viewers to experience the simultaneity of memory and real-time interaction. This technique not only heightens emotional intensity but also creates a sense of psychological realism, portraying the protagonists as living, breathing people whose past is inseparable from their present. The film's exploration of communication, both spoken and unspoken, is central to its emotional resonance. Conversations between Noah and Nick are rarely straightforward. They are riddled with subtext, implication, and the weight of years apart. Often, silences speak louder than words, a technique that the film uses to great effect. In one particularly striking sequence, Noah and Nick find themselves alone in a quiet corridor, exchanging no words, yet the camera lingers on subtle changes in posture, the softening of eyes, and the involuntary reach of hands. The audience feels the tension and longing as palpably as if it were physically present, demonstrating the filmmaker's mastery of visual storytelling. These scenes underscore the film's thesis: love is not merely declared, it is experienced in nuances, gestures, and moments of vulnerability that escape articulation. The narrative also foregrounds themes of personal responsibility and growth. Noah's journey involves not only reconciling with her past but also understanding her own needs, boundaries, and aspirations independent of Nick. She embodies the struggle of balancing emotional connection with self-respect and autonomy. Nick, on the other hand, must confront the ways in which his pride, impulsiveness, and inherited expectations have impeded his capacity to maintain lasting relationships. Both characters' growth is portrayed not as a sudden revelation but as an ongoing, sometimes painful process, reflecting the realism and maturity of the storytelling. The film challenges viewers to consider how love intersects with personal evolution, and whether reconciliation is possible when both individuals have been fundamentally changed by time and experience. Supporting characters continue to play pivotal roles in amplifying these themes. Jenna and Lion, whose wedding serves as the narrative's central gathering, represent the ideal of enduring companionship and mutual support. Their interactions with Noah and Nick provide a mirror against which the protagonists can evaluate their own relationship, illustrating both the possibilities and limitations of love over time. Secondary characters such as Marta Hazas, Yvonne Sanchez, and Goya Toledo introduce subplots that enrich the main narrative, exploring familial tension, friendship dynamics, and the negotiation of trust and loyalty. Each interaction, no matter how minor, serves to illuminate aspects of the protagonist's character arcs, weaving a densely textured social fabric that situates the love story within a broader human context. The cinematographic choices further enhance the storytelling. The use of natural light during outdoor scenes, contrasted with the controlled, intimate lighting of indoor sequences, visually represents the oscillation between freedom and constraint, vulnerability and protection. Wide-angle shots of open spaces during moments of emotional reflection communicate a sense of isolation or possibility, while tight framing during confrontations emphasizes intensity and intimacy. Camera movement is purposeful, often slow and deliberate, mirroring the character's cautious navigation of renewed emotional proximity. This visual strategy reinforces the film's central concern with timing, pacing, and the gradual unfolding of connection and conflict. Production design, costume, and music work in tandem to reinforce narrative meaning. The wedding venue is depicted not merely as a backdrop but as a symbol of celebration, transition, and the potential for new beginnings. Its decor, color schemes, and spatial arrangement all subtly inform the emotional stakes of each scene. Noah's wardrobe reflects her professional, composed exterior, juxtaposed against moments of vulnerability where clothing choices suggest softness, openness, and a willingness to embrace emotion. Nick's clothing similarly oscillates between formality and casual expressiveness, visually articulating the tension between social expectation and personal desire. The musical score, shifting between orchestral swells and minimalist compositions, punctuates emotional highs and lows, shaping the audience's affective experience with subtlety and precision. A significant aspect of the film's narrative technique is its nuanced treatment of time. By employing a combination of linear progression, flashbacks, and temporal overlaps, the film conveys the persistence of memory and the simultaneity of emotional experience. This approach allows the audience to inhabit the psychological space of the characters, understanding that their past choices continue to resonate and influence their present interactions. Temporal fluidity also serves a thematic function, illustrating how love, regret, and desire are not confined to discrete moments but are interwoven into the ongoing tapestry of life. Conflict resolution in Our Fault is neither instantaneous nor simplistic. The film acknowledges that real-life relationships are contingent upon continuous negotiation, understanding, and forgiveness. Arguments between Noah and Nick are portrayed with emotional honesty, reflecting the complexities of human interaction and the inevitability of misunderstanding. Yet, even within conflict, moments of tenderness emerge, signaling the persistent undercurrent of love and attachment. The screenplay carefully balances these oscillations, avoiding melodramatic extremes and instead privileging authenticity and emotional depth. The emotional climax of the film is carefully orchestrated, culminating in a scene that balances narrative resolution with thematic resonance. The wedding setting, with its symbolism of union and commitment, becomes the stage upon which the protagonists confront their shared history, articulate their desires, and negotiate the possibility of renewed connection. Here, cinematography, music, performance, and production design converge to create a moment of profound cinematic impact. Every camera angle, line of dialogue, and musical cue contributes to the unfolding emotional truth, ensuring that the audience experiences the full weight of the character's journey. Finally, the film's cultural significance and global reception highlight its impact beyond the narrative itself. As a Spanish-language production distributed on Prime Video, Our Fault demonstrates the increasing reach and influence of international cinema in the streaming era. Its themes of love, growth, and reconciliation resonate universally, allowing audiences worldwide to connect with characters whose experiences, while rooted in specific cultural contexts, reflect broadly human concerns. The trilogy as a whole, culminating in this final installment, exemplifies how serialized storytelling in contemporary cinema can combine emotional complexity with accessibility, offering both entertainment and meaningful reflection. As the story progresses toward its central confrontation, the film carefully orchestrates a series of emotionally charged sequences that test the endurance of Noah and Nick's bond. One of the earliest sequences after their reunion subtly conveys the tension between familiarity and estrangement. The camera lingers on the small gestures that speak volumes, Nick adjusting his cuff, Noah tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear, demonstrating that even after years, their intimate awareness of each other persists. These micro-expressions, often highlighted through slow zooms and extended takes, underscore the continuity of their emotional connection, suggesting that time may alter circumstance but cannot erase memory or desire. The film repeatedly uses these visual motifs to remind audiences that love is cumulative. It accumulates in habits, glances, and silent recognition. Flashbacks punctuate these present-moment interactions, often initiated by sensory triggers such as music, a familiar scent, or a passing conversation. The filmmakers employ these flashbacks not as narrative exposition but as emotional punctuation, creating a dialogue between past and present. One particularly poignant scene revisits a moment from the first film where Noah and Nick shared a vulnerable, unguarded conversation in a quiet library. The scene is intercut with their present encounter, emphasizing both how far they have come and the unresolved issues that linger. By contrasting these moments, the film examines the durability of emotional memory, illustrating how past intimacy can inform, complicate, and enrich present relationships. Viewers are invited to experience the simultaneity of nostalgia and current tension, heightening empathy and engagement. The wedding setting, as a recurring visual and symbolic motif, functions on multiple narrative levels. On the surface, it represents communal celebration and romantic union, yet it simultaneously acts as a crucible for Noah and Nick's personal reconciliation. The meticulous production design, including the arrangement of flowers, lighting, and seating, mirrors the emotional stakes of the characters. Scenes in which Noah and Nick are physically close yet socially distanced, such as a quiet conversation by the reception hall's balcony, visually convey the tension between opportunity and hesitation. The filmmaker's attention to spatial storytelling ensures that each scene communicates subtext without relying solely on dialogue. Dialogue throughout the film is strategically layered with ambiguity, reflecting the character's hesitance to fully reveal vulnerability. Arguments often pivot to deeper emotional truths, and seemingly minor comments carry historical weight. In one critical sequence, a disagreement about trust leads to the revelation of long-held insecurities, showcasing the screenplay's commitment to authenticity. Unlike conventional romantic dramas, these conflicts are neither resolved in a single beat nor depicted as trivial, rather, they are protracted, reflective of the ongoing negotiation inherent in mature relationships. The film underscores that reconciliation is rarely linear and that emotional growth requires persistent effort, self-awareness, and mutual respect. Music continues to shape audience perception of emotional texture. The soundtrack alternates between sweeping orchestral themes during moments of vulnerability and minimalist instrumental passages during introspective reflection. Silence is deployed as a dramatic instrument, emphasizing the unspoken tension between characters. For example, during a moment where Noah and Nick share a quiet dance at the wedding, the absence of music foregrounds the intimate significance of proximity and touch, amplifying the scene's emotional resonance. This careful sound design complements cinematography and editing to create a fully immersive sensory experience, ensuring that viewers feel the subtleties of emotional interplay as keenly as the overt gestures of affection or conflict. The narrative also incorporates symbolic motifs to deepen thematic resonance. Light and shadow are frequently used to represent emotional transparency versus concealment. Characters move between spaces bathed in sunlight and those shaded or dimly lit, visually signaling shifts in emotional openness. Similarly, recurring visual references to doors, windows, and thresholds metaphorically frame the character's journey toward choice and possibility. These motifs are subtle but consistent, providing an additional layer of interpretive richness. The filmmakers deliberately employ such symbols to encourage audience engagement, inviting viewers to decode meaning beyond dialogue and action, reinforcing the film's intellectual and emotional complexity. Secondary storylines complement the central narrative, offering reflective contrasts and amplifying thematic concerns. The interactions of secondary characters, friends, family, and extended social circles, serve as a counterpoint to Noah and Nick's fraught relationship, illustrating alternative models of connection, compromise, and enduring loyalty. Moments of humor, camaraderie, and everyday domestic interaction provide narrative relief while reinforcing the authenticity of the world the characters inhabit. These subplots are carefully interwoven, ensuring that the main emotional trajectory remains the focus, while simultaneously enriching the narrative universe and demonstrating how interpersonal dynamics extend beyond the central romantic relationship. The film's climax exemplifies the convergence of narrative, visual, and musical elements. In the final sequence at the wedding reception, Noah and Nick confront the culmination of their emotional arc. Camera movement becomes more fluid, capturing their physical and emotional closeness, while close-ups reveal micro-expressions, slight shifts in gaze, tremors in voice, and fleeting touches that articulate the culmination of years of unresolved longing. The musical score swells selectively, punctuating pivotal lines of dialogue and moments of reconciliation, while silence is strategically employed to heighten tension and intimacy. Production design elements, from the soft glow of candles to the subtle reflections in windows, visually underscore the duality of vulnerability and protection, intimacy and public exposure. Through these layered techniques, the climax achieves both narrative resolution and aesthetic impact, leaving a lasting impression on the audience. As the film concludes, its denouement offers both emotional closure and thematic reflection. Noah and Nick's final reconciliation is portrayed not as a sudden resolution but as the result of sustained negotiation, mutual understanding, and the courage to confront fear and pride. The narrative emphasizes that love, while powerful, requires ongoing attention, honesty, and empathy to endure. This finality resonates with audiences because it aligns with lived experience. Relationships are complicated, growth is continuous, and reconciliation is a process rather than a singular event. By framing the conclusion in this manner, the film honors the emotional intelligence of its viewers, providing a sense of satisfaction rooted in authenticity rather than contrived romance. The culmination of Our Fault is defined not by grand gestures alone but by subtle, emotionally resonant moments that convey both reconciliation and growth. In these final sequences, Noah and Nick engage in a series of conversations that have been building throughout the film, each revealing layers of vulnerability and mutual understanding that had previously been obscured by pride, fear, and past mistakes. These interactions exemplify the film's nuanced approach to emotional storytelling, emphasizing that love's endurance is tested not in passion alone but in the courage to confront difficult truths. When Noah speaks of her lingering doubts and Nick confesses the ways he has changed, the audience witnesses the intersection of honesty and vulnerability, a space where love becomes transformative rather than destructive. The screenplay, co-written by Domingo Gonzalez and Sofia Cuenca, carefully balances dialogue with silence, allowing the weight of unspoken emotion to carry as much narrative power as verbal exchanges. The director's vision becomes particularly evident in how space and movement are employed to represent emotional states. In several key scenes, the protagonists navigate thresholds, hallways, doorways, and staircases, visually symbolizing the transition between emotional distance and connection. Their movement is choreographed to mirror internal shifts. A hesitant step toward each other signifies a tentative attempt at trust, while physical closeness in open spaces conveys openness and vulnerability. The camera work complements this with alternating tight and wide shots. Close-ups capture the micro-expressions that convey subtle changes in emotion, while wider shots contextualize these moments within the larger, socially populated wedding setting, reminding viewers that personal reconciliation occurs amidst complex social environments. Music and sound design continue to play a crucial role in shaping the audience's emotional journey. The score oscillates between intimate piano motifs and lush orchestral arrangements, often shifting dynamically in response to subtle changes in character interaction. Moments of silence are equally powerful, particularly when the camera lingers on an unspoken glance or a hand hovering near another, allowing viewers to feel the tension, anticipation, and potential for connection. The combination of sound, silence, and visual framing reinforces the film's thematic emphasis. Love and reconciliation are as much about timing, patience, and attunement as they are about explicit declarations. Symbolism is woven throughout the film, reinforcing the narrative's thematic depth. Water, for example, appears repeatedly in reflective sequences, such as a quiet scene by a fountain or a lingering shot of the couple near a serene lake. These moments suggest introspection, emotional cleansing, and the potential for renewal. Similarly, recurring motifs of light and shadow emphasize the dualities present in their relationship, transparency and concealment, vulnerability and guardedness, past mistakes and future possibilities. The filmmakers employ these symbols with subtlety, never overpowering the narrative but enhancing its emotional resonance. Supporting characters play a pivotal role in both narrative progression and thematic reinforcement. Jenna and Lion, whose wedding serves as the central stage, exemplify successful partnership and mutual support, providing a contrast to the struggles of Noah and Nick. Their interactions with the protagonists offer guidance, perspective, and occasional comic relief, creating a textured social environment that enriches the emotional landscape. Secondary characters such as Marta Hazas, Yvonne Sanchez, Goya Toledo, and Victor Verona contribute additional layers, revealing themes of loyalty, forgiveness, and the complexities of interpersonal dynamics. Each subplot, no matter how minor, serves to illuminate aspects of the main character's growth and offers insights into the broader human experience of love and connection. Costume and production design are meticulously aligned with character development and thematic intent. Noah's wardrobe, often featuring structured, professional attire, symbolizes her control, discipline, and attempt at self-sufficiency, while moments of softer clothing choices reveal her vulnerability and willingness to embrace intimacy. Nick's clothing oscillates between formal business wear and casual, expressive outfits, reflecting his ongoing negotiation between societal expectation and personal desire. The wedding setting, richly designed with careful attention to color, lighting, and spatial composition, functions both as a narrative locus and as a symbolic canvas on which the film's emotional and thematic arcs unfold. The pacing of Our Fault is deliberate, allowing the narrative to breathe and the audience to inhabit the emotional spaces of its characters fully. Extended sequences of quiet reflection, lingering looks, and subtle gestures are interspersed with moments of high emotional intensity, creating a rhythm that mirrors real-life emotional dynamics. This approach ensures that each emotional beat resonates deeply, providing the audience with a sense of intimacy and investment in the character's journey. As the film moves toward its resolution, Noah and Nick's reconciliation is presented as the product of ongoing negotiation, trust-building, and mutual recognition of vulnerability. Unlike conventional romantic dramas that resolve conflicts quickly or through dramatic gestures alone, Our Fault emphasizes the realism of emotional repair. Their reunion is tender yet grounded, a culmination of shared history, present effort, and future intention. The final scenes depict them not only embracing but also engaging in meaningful dialogue about boundaries, expectations, and aspirations, underscoring the film's core message: love requires continuous, conscious participation from both individuals. The cultural and global significance of Our Fault cannot be overstated. Distributed via Prime Video, the film reached audiences in more than 240 countries, demonstrating the growing international influence of Spanish-language cinema. Its universal themes of love, growth, and reconciliation resonate across cultural boundaries, appealing to viewers who recognize the complexities of human relationships. Moreover, the film's success underscores the viability of serialized cinematic storytelling in the streaming era, combining the depth of literary adaptation with the accessibility and reach of digital platforms. Fans of the trilogy, familiar with the original novels by Mercedes Ron, were particularly drawn to the faithful yet emotionally enriched adaptation, appreciating both the attention to narrative detail and the maturation of characters over the course of 3 films. Our Fault ultimately functions as both an intimate exploration of personal relationships and a commentary on the enduring power of love in the face of adversity. By integrating visual symbolism, nuanced performance, layered dialogue, and thoughtful production design, the film achieves a balance between aesthetic sophistication and emotional accessibility. It is a story about reconciliation not only between two people but also within oneself, about the courage to acknowledge past mistakes, the willingness to forgive, and the strength to choose connection despite risk and vulnerability. Through this lens, the narrative resonates as a universal meditation on the human capacity for love, growth, and emotional renewal. The film's attention to emotional microcosms extends to seemingly minor interactions, which are given extraordinary narrative weight. A brief scene in which Noah and Nick walk through the wedding garden exemplifies this approach. The dialogue is minimal, yet the cinematography captures the subtle shifts in posture, eye contact, and spatial proximity, signaling the oscillation between hesitation and longing. The camera lingers on hands brushing against each other, on the faint quiver of a lip, on the catch of a breath, micro-gestures that communicate years of unresolved emotion. These moments highlight the film's commitment to realism. Love, tension, and reconciliation often unfold in quiet, almost imperceptible increments, and our fault meticulously renders this truth for the audience. Parallel to these intimate moments, the narrative incorporates social dynamics that accentuate the protagonist's emotional journey. The wedding functions as both a literal and symbolic stage, a gathering where familial expectation, friendship, and societal norms intersect. The reactions of other characters to Noah and Nick's tension offer commentary on the social visibility of private emotion. Friends and family witness but cannot dictate the course of their reunion. The film subtly explores the pressure of public perception, and how intimate reconciliation must occur despite external scrutiny. This layering of narrative complexity demonstrates the filmmaker's skill in blending the personal with the communal, crafting a story that is both emotionally specific and universally relatable. Flashbacks continue to punctuate the narrative, deepening the audience's understanding of character motivation and emotional history. One particularly evocative sequence revisits a moment from their youth, a scene where Noah and Nick shared a vulnerable conversation late at night under muted streetlights. The sequence is juxtaposed with a present-day scene of quiet reflection in a similarly lit space, underscoring how memory persists and shapes perception. The contrast between past spontaneity and present caution emphasizes the passage of time and its effect on emotional maturity. By weaving these temporal layers, the film illustrates the persistence of unresolved feelings and the ways in which nostalgia both comforts and complicates contemporary choices. The musical score amplifies the emotional subtext throughout the film. Composed with an acute awareness of narrative rhythm, it alternates between lush orchestral swells in moments of heightened emotion and restrained, minimalist melodies during introspection. Music cues often respond to micro-emotional shifts, the quickening of a heartbeat, a pause in dialogue, or a subtle gesture, guiding the audience's empathy and deepening immersion. Silence, employed deliberately, allows viewers to inhabit the tension-filled space between words, reinforcing the narrative's insistence that meaning often exists in unspoken interaction. This careful auditory design makes the film not merely watched but experienced, transforming narrative beats into visceral emotional encounters. Production design reinforces the thematic currents of the film. The wedding setting, meticulously crafted, serves as an emotional and symbolic nexus. Its floral arrangements, lighting, and spatial composition reflect celebration, transition, and the potential for new beginnings, while subtly mirroring the inner emotional state of the protagonists. Indoor scenes, including Noah's apartment and Nick's inherited office spaces, are designed to reflect character traits. Noah's environment conveys order, independence, and controlled vulnerability, while Nick's space reflects inherited authority tempered by a lingering sense of disquiet. Even minor props, from candles to framed photographs, are chosen to echo narrative motifs of memory, reflection, and intimacy, adding visual depth to the emotional storytelling. Conflict, as portrayed in Our Fault, is deliberate and multifaceted. Disagreements between Noah and Nick are neither melodramatic nor superficial, they arise organically from the characters' personalities, histories, and emotional stakes. One heated exchange during the reception reveals not only their residual hurt but also their capacity for honesty and empathy. Arguments ebb and flow with vulnerability, negotiation, and the occasional humor that punctuates tension without diminishing its significance. The film presents reconciliation as a process rather than a sudden event, reflecting the realistic, labor-intensive nature of repairing relationships. Each conflict is a narrative tool, deepening the audience's investment and illustrating the complexity of love as an evolving, negotiated endeavor. Symbolic imagery permeates the visual narrative, providing interpretive richness beyond dialogue. Recurrent use of thresholds, mirrors, and reflections emphasizes themes of introspection, transition, and the multiplicity of self. Reflections in windows, for example, visually articulate the character's awareness of their dualities, public versus private selves, past versus present, desire versus restraint. Water imagery, appearing in fountains, glasses, and pools, symbolizes emotional clarity, purification, and renewal. Light and shadow, carefully modulated, underscore the oscillation between openness and guardedness, vulnerability and self-protection. These motifs create an interwoven visual language that complements narrative, dialogue, and performance, allowing viewers to engage both emotionally and intellectually. Secondary characters provide both narrative contrast and thematic reinforcement. Jenna and Lion, as newlyweds, exemplify stability, trust, and mutual support, serving as a foil to the tension-laden journey of Noah and Nick. Their presence highlights the different ways love can manifest, the balance of spontaneity, patience, and long-term commitment. Supporting roles, including Marta Hazas, Yvonne Sanchez, Goya Toledo, and Victor Verona, deepen the narrative ecosystem, introducing themes of friendship, loyalty, familial expectation, and moral guidance. The ensemble's interactions are carefully choreographed to enhance the realism of social dynamics, emphasizing how personal reconciliation occurs within a broader network of relationships and responsibilities. Costume design further underscores character development. Noah's wardrobe, often structured and professional, signals self-discipline and emotional control, while occasional softer clothing choices reveal her vulnerability and willingness to engage with intimacy. Nick's attire oscillates between formality and casual expressiveness, reflecting the tension between societal expectation, personal desire, and emotional authenticity. Even small wardrobe choices, such as the color palette and fabric texture, serve to visually reinforce narrative arcs, character growth, and thematic resonance. Finally, the film's ending is both emotionally satisfying and thematically rich. Noah and Nick's reconciliation is portrayed with careful attention to realism, emphasizing dialogue, vulnerability, and shared choice rather than theatrical spectacle. The culmination of years of emotional history is articulated not only through verbal acknowledgement but through gestures, glances, and physical proximity that communicate enduring affection and trust. The narrative closes with a sense of continuity. Their journey is not presented as a neatly packaged resolution but as the beginning of an ongoing negotiation, reinforcing the film's central thesis that love is an evolving, lived experience rather than a finite achievement. The film opens with a quiet intensity, immediately signaling that the story is less about external spectacle and more about internal emotional landscapes. Noah is introduced moving through her daily life with a sense of controlled precision, each action measured, reflecting the years of personal growth she has undergone since her separation from Nick. The camera lingers on her expressions, her pauses, and her interactions with colleagues, establishing a rhythm that mirrors her inner discipline and restraint. These early moments convey that the protagonist's world is orderly, yet there is an undercurrent of unresolved tension that simmers just beneath the surface. Nick, by contrast, is portrayed in a world of inherited responsibility, oscillating between corporate expectation and personal longing. His entrance is framed with slightly more dynamic camera work, reflecting both the pressures he faces and his underlying restlessness. The contrast between his outward composure and inner turbulence is emphasized through subtle cues in posture, facial expression, and the mise-en-scene of his environment. These opening character sketches establish the emotional stakes of the narrative, two individuals who have evolved apart but remain inextricably linked by shared history. The wedding of Jenna and Lion serves as the narrative fulcrum, a social event that simultaneously reunites the protagonists and provides the framework for escalating emotional tension. The setting is meticulously crafted, floral arrangements, lighting, and spatial composition all convey celebration while subtly mirroring the inner conflict of the main characters. Cinematography makes strategic use of framing, alternating between wide shots that capture the social environment and intimate close-ups that focus on micro-expressions, allowing viewers to perceive the layered emotional currents at play. As Noah and Nick navigate the wedding, each encounter is laden with subtext. Even casual glances or unintentional proximity carry the weight of shared history, reflecting the film's insistence that past emotions continue to inform present interactions. Their conversations are often punctuated by silence, allowing the audience to inhabit the tension and anticipate unspoken possibilities. This deliberate pacing demonstrates the filmmaker's commitment to realism, portraying romantic tension as both subtle and enduring rather than overtly theatrical. Flashbacks are employed judiciously to enrich narrative depth. They provide context for the protagonist's current emotional states without resorting to expository dialogue. One particularly poignant flashback shows Noah and Nick in a late-night conversation, a moment of vulnerability that has shaped their ongoing dynamics. By juxtaposing past and present, the film illustrates how unresolved issues and lingering affection coexist, creating a nuanced portrayal of human relationships. Music underscores these emotional beats with remarkable precision. Minimalist compositions accompany introspective sequences, while orchestral swells accentuate moments of emotional revelation or heightened intimacy. Silence is equally powerful, giving the audience space to engage with the unspoken tensions and subtle gestures between characters. This careful calibration of sound enhances immersion, transforming each scene into a multisensory emotional experience. Production design reinforces narrative and thematic elements. Interiors reflect character psychology. Noah's apartment is orderly and restrained, while Nick's inherited spaces blend formality with personal touches that hint at his evolving identity. The wedding venue itself is a visual metaphor for emotional thresholds, celebration, and potential renewal. Elements such as lighting, props, and spatial arrangement subtly echo the characters' emotional journeys, providing a layered visual texture that supports the narrative. Costume design similarly conveys character development. Noah's professional attire reflects control and independence, while softer clothing choices in vulnerable moments communicate openness to intimacy. Nick's wardrobe navigates the tension between social expectation and personal authenticity, visually signaling his ongoing negotiation between external pressures and inner desire. These design choices reinforce the storytelling without explicit exposition, allowing the visual medium to communicate psychological complexity. Conflict between Noah and Nick is treated with remarkable subtlety. Their arguments are organic extensions of character development, arising from pride, fear, and lingering resentment. Each disagreement is carefully paced, emphasizing negotiation and reflection rather than resolution through dramatic catharsis. The film depicts conflict as a realistic, ongoing process, a central tenet in its portrayal of love as evolving and dynamic. Symbolism enriches the visual narrative. Thresholds, mirrors, reflections, and water imagery recur throughout the film, representing introspection, transformation, and renewal. Light and shadow articulate emotional dualities, openness versus guardedness, hope versus hesitation, providing interpretive depth without detracting from the realism of the characters' interactions. These motifs operate seamlessly alongside dialogue and action, offering a layered cinematic experience. Supporting characters provide narrative contrast and thematic reinforcement. Jenna and Lion exemplify stability and trust, offering a foil to Noah and Nick's tension-laden relationship. Secondary characters, including Marta Hazas, Yvonne Sanchez, and Goya Toledo, contribute humor, wisdom, and relational insight, emphasizing the complexity of social and familial networks in shaping individual behavior. Their interactions underscore that reconciliation and emotional growth occur within a broader social context. The narrative pacing allows for immersive engagement with characters' emotional landscapes. Extended sequences of reflection, pauses, and minor gestures communicate subtlety, while heightened interactions punctuate the rhythm with intensity. This oscillation mirrors real-world relational dynamics, cultivating audience empathy and investment. The deliberate pacing also reinforces the central theme: love is an enduring negotiation of vulnerability, trust, and personal growth. Scenes of intimacy, both emotional and physical, are choreographed with care to reflect realism. A quiet dance between Noah and Nick exemplifies this approach, where proximity, gesture, and eye contact convey profound connection without overt dramatization. These moments emphasize that intimacy is multidimensional, encompassing shared history, trust, and the courage to remain emotionally open. Flashbacks continue to interweave past and present, highlighting the cumulative nature of emotional experience. Revisiting youthful conversations and tender exchanges allows viewers to contextualize current hesitations and lingering affection. This technique underscores the persistence of memory in shaping character behavior and decision-making, illustrating that love is an evolving continuum rather than a static emotion. Cinematography and editing collaborate to enhance thematic resonance. Camera movement, framing, and shot selection mirror emotional states. Tight close-ups capture vulnerability, while wide shots situate personal interactions within broader social contexts. Editing rhythm aligns with narrative pacing, allowing reflection, tension, and revelation to unfold naturally. Visual storytelling reinforces narrative subtext and amplifies the audience's emotional engagement. Music composition continues to guide audience perception. Themes associated with the protagonists evolve alongside their emotional journey, reinforcing development, reconciliation, and renewed connection. The score's dynamic interplay with silence and dialogue underscores tension, anticipation, and resolution, enhancing narrative depth. This audiovisual integration ensures that each scene resonates on multiple sensory levels. Conflict resolution in the narrative emphasizes authenticity. Noah and Nick's reconciliation is gradual, grounded in dialogue, mutual understanding, and shared vulnerability. By presenting love as a negotiated, ongoing process, the film diverges from conventional romantic tropes, offering a sophisticated meditation on relational growth, forgiveness, and emotional resilience. Production anecdotes reveal meticulous attention to detail. Locations were chosen for symbolic significance, lighting schemes were calibrated to reflect psychological states, and rehearsals emphasized emotional continuity across flashback and present-day sequences. These choices underscore the filmmaker's dedication to creating an immersive, emotionally coherent cinematic experience. Cultural resonance of the film is substantial. Through global streaming, Our Fault extends Spanish-language storytelling to international audiences, bridging cultural boundaries and highlighting universal themes of love, growth, and reconciliation. The trilogy exemplifies the capacity of serialized adaptations to cultivate deep fan engagement, sustaining emotional investment over multiple installments while honoring source material. The film's conclusion synthesizes emotional, thematic, and visual elements. Noah and Nick's reunion is tender, realistic, and satisfying, demonstrating that authentic love emerges from negotiation, vulnerability, and shared commitment. The denouement emphasizes continuity. Relationships are ongoing, requiring sustained effort, aligning narrative closure with thematic integrity. Finally, Our Fault resonates as both intimate character study and universal meditation on love's complexity. Through cinematography, production design, music, performance, and narrative structure, the film portrays reconciliation, growth, and enduring affection with emotional sophistication. Its success lies in capturing the nuances of human experience, offering audiences a deeply affecting exploration of romance, memory, and the transformative power of connection. The film opens with subtle foreshadowing of the emotional tension that will dominate Noah and Nick's reunion. In a brief establishing sequence, Noah navigates her morning routine with deliberate care, each movement reflecting the internalized discipline she has cultivated over years of separation. Her gestures, adjusting her clothing, pausing at reflective surfaces, and checking messages she does not respond to, convey a quiet tension, a readiness that masks lingering vulnerability. The camera frames her in both wide shots, situating her in a broader social and urban context, and close-ups, capturing fleeting emotional microexpressions. These early moments establish the duality of her current life, composed on the surface, yet emotionally charged beneath. Nick's introduction mirrors this emotional layering but through a lens of tension and expectation. He is shown navigating corporate responsibilities, meetings, and social appearances with practiced ease, yet subtle cues, a lingering glance, a tightening of the jaw, a fleeting sigh, reveal the inner conflict that remains unresolved from his past with Noah. These opening sequences create a visual and narrative counterpoint, framing the protagonists as parallel yet contrasting figures, each carrying the weight of past love and present responsibility. The wedding of Jenna and Lion serves as both literal and metaphorical terrain for the unfolding drama. The filmmakers designed the setting to be visually rich, with lush floral arrangements, warm lighting, and carefully arranged spaces that simultaneously convey celebration and the potential for confrontation. Camera work alternates between expansive wide shots that situate characters within the collective social sphere and intimate close-ups that isolate micro-emotions, emphasizing the personal stakes amid communal celebration. The wedding becomes a crucible where the protagonist's internal and external worlds collide. Even casual interactions between Noah and Nick are laden with subtext. A simple conversation about a mutual acquaintance is punctuated by long pauses, shifting glances, and nearly imperceptible movements of hands and bodies, communicating tension, desire, and the weight of memory. The film excels in portraying the unspoken. Silence is as narratively potent as dialogue, allowing the audience to inhabit the emotional space between words and observe the subtle negotiation of feelings. These moments emphasize realism, illustrating that love's most significant battles often occur in micro-moments rather than grand declarations. Flashbacks interspersed throughout the narrative provide both context and emotional resonance. One particularly poignant sequence recalls a late-night conversation between Noah and Nick from their youth, under dim street lighting, where vulnerability and trust first intertwine. This scene, juxtaposed against the protagonist's present interactions at the wedding, highlights both personal growth and lingering unresolved emotions. By contrasting memory and present action, the film demonstrates the persistence of past love and its influence on current choices. Music shapes the emotional cadence, guiding audience empathy. Minimalist piano themes underscore reflective moments, while sweeping orchestral arrangements punctuate revelations and intimacy. Strategic use of silence heightens tension and allows gestures, expressions, and microbehaviors to resonate fully. The auditory landscape mirrors the protagonist's emotional rhythm, enhancing narrative immersion and amplifying the psychological realism of each scene. Production design contributes to the film's thematic depth. Interiors, from Noah's meticulously organized apartment to Nick's inherited offices, visually represent character traits: control versus inherited responsibility, order versus latent turmoil. The wedding venue serves as both symbolic and practical narrative space, reflecting the tension between public celebration and private emotional reckoning. Lighting, props, and spatial arrangement subtly communicate character psychology, creating a layered visual narrative that complements performance and dialogue. Costumes function as an extension of character development. Noah's professional attire communicates control, independence, and guardedness, while occasional softer, flowing clothing reveals openness to intimacy and emotional vulnerability. Nick's wardrobe balances formal expectations with personal expression, visually articulating the tension between duty and desire. Wardrobe choices, carefully curated by the costume department, contribute to storytelling by visually reflecting internal states and thematic concerns without relying on exposition. Conflict between the protagonists is organically portrayed, reflecting realism. Their disagreements emerge from pride, fear, and lingering resentment, and are never oversimplified. The screenplay allows these conflicts to unfold over multiple scenes, emphasizing the negotiation and patience required in authentic reconciliation. Through prolonged tension interspersed with moments of tenderness, the film conveys the ongoing nature of relational work, contrasting with conventional romance narratives that often resolve conflict abruptly. Symbolic motifs enhance narrative depth. Reflections, mirrors, and glass surfaces frequently frame Noah and Nick, symbolizing introspection, duality, and self-awareness. Water, appearing in fountains, pools, and glassware, conveys purification, emotional clarity, and potential renewal. Light and shadow, consistently employed across sequences, underscore vulnerability versus guardedness, transparency versus concealment. These motifs reinforce thematic coherence while allowing interpretive engagement from the audience. Secondary characters amplify narrative complexity and thematic resonance. Jenna and Lion exemplify stability, mutual support, and long-term commitment, serving as narrative foils to Noah and Nick's unresolved tension. Supporting figures such as Marta Hazas, Yvonne Sanchez, Goya Toledo, and Victor Verona enrich relational dynamics, offering humor, wisdom, and guidance that illuminate the main characters' arcs. These interactions remind audiences that emotional growth and reconciliation occur within broader social networks. Pacing is deliberate, alternating contemplative reflection with heightened emotional intensity. Long takes, pauses, and lingering shots cultivate intimacy, allowing viewers to internalize subtle emotional cues. The rhythm mirrors the real-life ebb and flow of relationships, where moments of tension, vulnerability, and tenderness coexist. This pacing supports thematic emphasis on the ongoing nature of love, trust, and forgiveness. Intimate sequences are choreographed for emotional realism. A slow dance between Noah and Nick exemplifies this, where eye contact, subtle touches, and body orientation communicate layered emotional histories. Physicality is always grounded in relational context. Gestures, however small, carry narrative weight, illustrating that intimacy extends beyond dialogue into nuanced expression. Flashbacks continue to function as narrative and emotional counterpoints. By revisiting past conversations and tender moments, the film contextualizes current hesitations, fears, and residual affection. The interplay of past and present emphasizes that love is a continuum, shaped by memory, experience, and evolving self-awareness. Cinematography and editing align with thematic intent. Camera angles, framing, and motion communicate psychological states. Tight close-ups capture vulnerability, while wider compositions situate characters within relational and social contexts. Editing rhythm reflects emotional pacing, allowing reflection, tension, and resolution to emerge organically. Visual storytelling deepens audience engagement, complementing dialogue and performance. Music composition evolves with character development. Themes associated with Noah and Nick shift subtly to reflect growth, reconciliation, and renewed intimacy. The interplay of music, silence, and diegetic sound enhances emotional resonance, ensuring scenes carry multisensory impact and reinforcing narrative rhythm. Conflict resolution emphasizes authenticity. The protagonist's reconciliation is gradual, emerging from dialogue, vulnerability, and mutual acknowledgement of past and present. The film portrays love as negotiated and evolving, diverging from simplistic or instantaneous resolutions common in romantic drama, and underscoring relational complexity. Production choices reveal careful attention to detail. Location selection, lighting, rehearsal, and blocking were all calibrated to reinforce emotional continuity. Symbolic props, spatial composition, and color schemes subtly echo narrative and character development, demonstrating a deliberate integration of design and storytelling. Cultural impact extends beyond narrative achievement. Streaming distribution allowed the film to reach a global audience, bringing Spanish-language romance to diverse viewers and expanding cross-cultural engagement. The trilogy demonstrates the power of serialized storytelling to sustain emotional investment and loyalty across multiple installments, with Our Fault serving as a culminating testament to its thematic and aesthetic ambitions. The narrative's conclusion blends emotional resolution with thematic closure. Noah and Nick's reunion is tender, realistic, and layered, highlighting vulnerability, communication, and mutual respect. Closure is depicted as ongoing, reinforcing the central motif that love requires continuous attention, effort, and emotional investment. The film's final scenes embody continuity, growth, and hope, leaving audiences with both satisfaction and reflective resonance. Finally, Our Fault achieves a synthesis of cinematic artistry and emotional storytelling. Through meticulous attention to performance, music, cinematography, production design, and thematic depth, it presents a narrative that is both intimate and universally resonant. By portraying love as cumulative, complex, and negotiated, the film offers a profound meditation on human connection, reconciliation, and the transformative power of enduring affection. The narrative's early wedding sequences are crafted to balance spectacle with intimacy. Wide shots establish the grandeur of the celebration, situating characters within a vibrant social milieu, while tight framing highlights micro-expressions, revealing internal tension. Noah and Nick navigate this space with careful physicality, often maintaining a polite social distance while negotiating emotional closeness. The juxtaposition of public visibility and private longing underscores the persistent interplay between societal expectation and personal desire. Throughout these sequences, camera movement mirrors emotional states. Slow pans and tracking shots follow the protagonists as they traverse the venue, conveying hesitation, anticipation, and awareness of social scrutiny. Moments of stillness punctuate these movements, allowing subtle gestures, a lingering glance or a shifted posture, to carry narrative weight. By prioritizing visual nuance over overt exposition, the filmmakers emphasize realism in relational dynamics. Flashbacks punctuate these moments, often triggered by sensory cues such as music, conversation, or environment. A sequence revisiting a late-night rooftop conversation between Noah and Nick illuminates unresolved regrets and unspoken desires. Juxtaposition with present-day interactions underscores the persistence of emotional memory, illustrating how past intimacy informs present hesitation and longing. The audience experiences time fluidly, perceiving the simultaneity of past influence and present choice. The film's musical composition is carefully synchronized with narrative beats. Introspective piano motifs accompany moments of vulnerability, while orchestral swells punctuate emotional revelation or reconnection. Silence is employed strategically, allowing gestures, expressions, and pauses to resonate, emphasizing the subtleties of relational tension. The auditory landscape reinforces psychological realism, guiding audience empathy and engagement. Production design amplifies narrative and thematic resonance. Noah's apartment communicates structure and self-discipline, reflecting her controlled demeanor. Nick's inherited office spaces blend formality with personal expression, suggesting latent conflict between obligation and authenticity. The wedding venue functions symbolically, representing both public celebration and private emotional reckoning. Spatial arrangement, lighting, and decor are meticulously calibrated to reflect and reinforce character psychology. Costume choices mirror emotional and relational states. Noah's structured professional attire communicates control and independence, while softer, flowing outfits reveal emotional openness. Nick's wardrobe alternates between formal and casual expressions, reflecting negotiation between social expectation and personal desire. These visual cues operate subtly, providing insight into character development without explicit exposition. Conflict between Noah and Nick unfolds organically, reflecting realistic emotional negotiation. Disagreements arise from pride, fear, and lingering regret rather than contrived plot devices. The film emphasizes relational work, patience, dialogue, and empathy, as essential to reconciliation. Tender moments punctuate these conflicts, illustrating that love is simultaneously challenging and rewarding. Symbolic motifs enhance narrative complexity. Mirrors, reflective surfaces, and thresholds visually signify introspection, transition, and the duality of self. Water imagery conveys emotional clarity, purification, and renewal. Light and shadow underscore emotional oscillations, highlighting vulnerability and guardedness. These motifs interact seamlessly with narrative, performance, and dialogue to deepen thematic resonance. Supporting characters provide contrast and narrative richness. Jenna and Lion exemplify stability and mutual support, offering a foil to Noah and Nick's unresolved tension. Marta Hazas, Yvonne Sanchez, Goya Toledo, and Victor Verona provide humor, wisdom, and relational insight, reinforcing the interplay of social dynamics and emotional growth. These secondary arcs underscore that reconciliation occurs within broader networks of connection and obligation. Pacing facilitates immersion into emotional landscapes. Extended sequences of reflection, quiet gestures, and lingering looks cultivate intimacy, while heightened emotional interactions punctuate rhythm with intensity. This cadence mirrors real-world relational dynamics, emphasizing that love evolves through both subtle and pronounced moments. Intimate scenes, both emotional and physical, are choreographed for realism. A quiet dance between Noah and Nick exemplifies the communication of layered emotions through gesture, posture, and proximity. Physicality is grounded in relational context, every touch, glance, or pause communicates history, desire, and negotiation, reinforcing the narrative's focus on authenticity. Flashbacks continue to provide narrative depth and emotional texture. Revisiting youthful conversations, tender exchanges, and moments of conflict contextualizes present hesitation and residual attachment. The interplay of temporal layers highlights that emotional experience is cumulative, shaped by both memory and lived reality. Cinematography and editing collaborate to reflect psychological states. Tight close-ups capture vulnerability, while wider compositions situate interactions within social and spatial context. Tracking, panning, and stationary shots are employed to mirror hesitation, anticipation, and emotional proximity. Editing rhythm reinforces pacing, allowing tension, reflection, and resolution to emerge organically. Music evolves in tandem with character development. Recurring motifs shift subtly to reflect relational growth, reconciliation, and renewed intimacy. The interplay of diegetic and non-diegetic sound, along with silence, underscores emotional subtext and guides audience perception. Each auditory element complements visual and narrative cues, creating a holistic cinematic experience. Conflict resolution is portrayed as a process rather than a singular event. Noah and Nick's reconciliation emerges through sustained dialogue, vulnerability, and mutual acknowledgement of past mistakes. The film diverges from traditional romantic closure, emphasizing love as negotiated, evolving, and contingent on effort, communication, and emotional courage. Production choices reflect meticulous attention to narrative continuity. Location selection, lighting calibration, rehearsal, and blocking ensure consistency across flashback and present-day sequences. Symbolic props, color schemes, and spatial arrangements reinforce character psychology and thematic depth, integrating design with storytelling seamlessly. Cultural resonance is notable. Streaming distribution enables global access, bringing Spanish-language romance to diverse audiences. The film's universal themes, love, growth, reconciliation, transcend linguistic and cultural barriers. As part of a trilogy, Our Fault demonstrates serialized storytelling's ability to sustain fan engagement and emotional investment over multiple installments. The narrative conclusion blends emotional satisfaction with thematic closure. Noah and Nick's reunion is tender, realistic, and layered, emphasizing communication, trust, and shared vulnerability. Resolution is depicted as ongoing rather than finite, reinforcing the central motif that love is continuous, evolving, and actively maintained. Finally, Our Fault achieves a synthesis of cinematic craftsmanship and emotional storytelling. Performance, music, cinematography, production design, and thematic layering converge to present a story that is both intimate and universally resonant. The film portrays reconciliation, personal growth, and enduring affection with subtlety and sophistication, offering audiences a profound meditation on love, memory, and human connection. The enduring appeal of the film lies in its commitment to realism, emotional complexity, and visual symbolism. By capturing the nuanced interplay of memory, desire, conflict, and intimacy, the filmmakers create an experience that is simultaneously immersive, reflective, and emotionally resonant. The narrative sophistication ensures that viewers leave with both catharsis and contemplative insight, highlighting the transformative power of love and reconciliation. From the very beginning of the reunion at the wedding, the film carefully stages the subtle dynamics of proximity and avoidance between Noah and Nick. Each scene is meticulously choreographed, emphasizing the tension of near encounters, a shared glance across the room, the unintentional brush of hands, or the careful measurement of physical space. These visual cues underscore the narrative's central premise that love and tension are often inseparable, and that reconciliation is negotiated through microactions as much as dialogue. Early interactions are layered with anticipation. The filmmakers employ a combination of long takes and slow pans to heighten the sense of temporality, allowing audiences to feel the lingering weight of history between the characters. Every hesitation, every glance, is imbued with emotional significance, creating a cinematic rhythm that mirrors the cautious progression of human intimacy. This attention to temporal pacing allows the narrative to explore tension, regret, and desire authentically. Flashbacks serve as critical emotional anchors, grounding present interactions in past experiences. One such sequence revisits a rooftop conversation under the muted glow of city lights, where both characters first confront vulnerability and mutual dependence. This scene is juxtaposed with a present-day hallway encounter, highlighting how memory informs perception and behavior. By weaving temporal layers together, the film emphasizes that unresolved pasts continue to shape present possibilities. Cinematography is consistently employed to reinforce psychological states. Close-ups capture fleeting micro-expressions, the slight tightening of lips, a raised brow, the brief avoidance of eye contact, each conveying subtle emotional shifts. Conversely, wide shots contextualize these interactions within the wedding environment, situating private tension amidst social observation. This interplay between intimacy and social space reflects the narrative's concern with how public and private selves intersect. Music underscores the evolving emotional landscape. Minimalist piano motifs accompany introspection, while orchestral swells accentuate moments of reconnection or revelation. Silence punctuates dialogue, allowing gestures, posture, and pauses to carry emotional weight. The score functions not merely as accompaniment but as a narrative agent, guiding viewers' perception and enhancing immersion. Production design extends thematic depth. Noah's apartment, with its orderly, structured aesthetic, reflects her controlled demeanor and emotional caution. Nick's spaces, a mixture of inherited formality and personal touches, convey the tension between obligation and authenticity. The wedding venue itself functions as a symbolic canvas, juxtaposing communal celebration with private reconciliation, allowing production elements to visually reinforce narrative stakes. Costume design communicates character evolution. Noah's structured professional attire conveys discipline, self-sufficiency, and guardedness, while occasional softer fabrics signal moments of vulnerability and openness. Nick's wardrobe alternates between formal rigidity and casual informality, reflecting negotiation between societal expectation and personal desire. These visual cues subtly narrate internal states alongside character performance. Conflict is portrayed with authenticity. Disagreements between Noah and Nick are rooted in personal history, pride, and emotional wounds, rather than contrived plot devices. Each argument is layered with tenderness, hesitation, and reflection, emphasizing that reconciliation is a process rather than a single event. The film demonstrates that love requires patience, understanding, and continuous negotiation. Symbolic motifs recur throughout, enriching narrative and emotional depth. Mirrors, reflections, and glass surfaces signify self-awareness and duality. Water imagery, appearing in fountains, lakes, and glassware, evokes emotional clarity, renewal, and the cleansing potential of reconciliation. Light and shadow articulate vulnerability versus guardedness, subtly communicating psychological states without reliance on dialogue. Supporting characters enhance narrative complexity. Jenna and Lion exemplify stability, trust, and long-term commitment, serving as a foil to Noah and Nick's tension-laden journey. Secondary characters, Marta Hazas, Yvonne Sanchez, Goya Toledo, Victor Varona, provide guidance, humor, and relational contrast, illustrating how individual emotional arcs unfold within broader social networks. The pacing of Our Fault allows for immersion into nuanced emotional states. Extended sequences of reflective silence, coupled with deliberate camera movement, enable audiences to inhabit the characters' psychological landscapes. Periodic heightened emotional beats punctuate these quieter moments, maintaining narrative rhythm while emphasizing relational stakes. Intimate sequences, including both conversation and physical proximity, are choreographed to reflect authenticity. Gestures, posture, and micro-interactions communicate layered histories, unspoken desires, and the tentative negotiation of trust. Each movement is deliberate, reinforcing the narrative assertion that love is a continuous, negotiated process. Flashbacks continue to illuminate relational development. By revisiting formative conversations, moments of vulnerability, and shared experiences, the film situates present hesitations within a continuum of emotional growth. Memory becomes a narrative tool, illustrating that love, regret, and reconciliation are cumulative, shaping behavior over time. Cinematography and editing are tightly integrated with narrative intent. Camera angles, framing, and shot composition reflect psychological and emotional states. Tracking shots convey hesitation and anticipation, while tight close-ups reveal subtle shifts in expression. Editing rhythm mirrors relational pacing, allowing reflection, conflict, and resolution to unfold organically. Music evolves with narrative and character arcs. Themes associated with Noah and Nick shift subtly over the film, reflecting personal growth, reconciliation, and renewed intimacy. Diegetic and non-diegetic sounds interact with silence and dialogue, amplifying emotional resonance and narrative continuity. Conflict resolution is portrayed as gradual and negotiated. Reconciliation is achieved through dialogue, mutual acknowledgement, and a willingness to confront emotional history. The film's approach diverges from conventional romantic closure, emphasizing that love requires continuous effort, vulnerability, and communication. Production choices, including location selection, lighting, blocking, and rehearsal, ensure narrative and emotional continuity across flashback and present-day sequences. Props, color palettes, and spatial arrangements reinforce thematic motifs and character psychology, integrating design with performance seamlessly. Cultural resonance is enhanced through global streaming. Spanish-language storytelling reaches international audiences, with universal themes of love, growth, and reconciliation transcending linguistic boundaries. The trilogy demonstrates serialized adaptation's capacity to sustain engagement, with Our Fault providing a narrative culmination that honors both literary source material and audience expectations. The narrative's conclusion achieves emotional and thematic synthesis. Noah and Nick's reunion is tender, layered, and realistic, emphasizing trust, vulnerability, and shared choice. The resolution is ongoing rather than final, reinforcing the central theme that love is continuous, evolving, and actively maintained. Finally, Our Fault embodies a synthesis of cinematic craft and emotional storytelling. Through meticulous attention to performance, music, cinematography, production design, and thematic layering, it presents a narrative that is intimate, universally resonant, and profoundly human. By portraying reconciliation, growth, and enduring affection with nuance and sophistication, the film offers a meditation on love, memory, and the transformative potential of human connection. The initial reunion scene at the wedding is meticulously staged to convey emotional tension through spatial awareness and body language. Noah and Nick navigate the crowded reception hall, each interaction fraught with a mix of recognition and restraint. The filmmakers employ strategic framing, positioning the characters at opposite ends of the room before gradually drawing them closer. This visual choreography mirrors the tentative nature of their emotional rapprochement, emphasizing that reconciliation is incremental and delicate. Micro-expressions are critical to conveying unspoken tension. A brief flicker of the eyes, a subtle tightening of the jaw, or a hesitant hand movement communicates layers of longing, regret, and unresolved conflict. Close-up cinematography captures these fleeting signals, allowing the audience to internalize the protagonist's internal dialogue without reliance on exposition. These techniques reinforce the film's commitment to emotional authenticity. Flashbacks punctuate these reunion sequences, providing narrative and emotional context. A late-night conversation from their shared past is interwoven with a present-day moment of near encounter, highlighting the persistence of unresolved issues. The temporal juxtaposition emphasizes how memory informs perception, demonstrating that emotional history shapes present decisions and behaviors in complex and enduring ways. Music heightens narrative resonance. Minimalist piano motifs accompany moments of introspection, while orchestral swells underscore revelations, tender gestures, or physical closeness. Silence punctuates dialogue and gesture, emphasizing pauses, hesitations, and unspoken sentiments. The auditory landscape mirrors the rhythm of the protagonist's evolving connection, creating a multidimensional emotional experience. Production design reinforces thematic undertones. Noah's apartment, characterized by meticulous organization and muted color palettes, reflects her emotional control and self-discipline. Nick's spaces, combining inherited formality with personal expression, visually communicate the tension between duty and authenticity. The wedding venue itself operates as a symbolic site where personal and social dynamics converge, allowing the narrative to explore intimacy, scrutiny, and reconciliation simultaneously. Costume choices further illustrate character evolution. Noah's structured attire conveys control and emotional guardedness, while softer clothing selections signal moments of vulnerability and openness. Nick's wardrobe navigates formality and casual expressiveness, reflecting the ongoing negotiation between societal expectation and personal desire. These visual cues enhance storytelling by embedding psychological insight within performance. Conflict is portrayed with nuance and realism. Noah and Nick's arguments arise from pride, fear, and unresolved emotional wounds rather than contrived plot necessity. Extended dialogue sequences, punctuated with pauses and reflective gestures, depict reconciliation as a process that demands effort, patience, and communication. This approach emphasizes that mature relationships involve sustained negotiation rather than dramatic, instantaneous resolutions. Symbolism operates continuously throughout the film. Mirrors, reflections, and thresholds signify introspection, self-awareness, and transition. Water imagery, including fountains, pools, and reflective surfaces, evokes emotional clarity, purification, and renewal. Light and shadow articulate vulnerability versus guardedness, enabling viewers to perceive internal states visually while reinforcing thematic coherence. Supporting characters contribute both narrative contrast and thematic reinforcement. Jenna and Lion, exemplifying stability, trust, and mutual support, serve as foils to Noah and Nick's tension-filled journey. Marta Hazas, Yvonne Sanchez, Goya Toledo, and Victor Varona offer humor, guidance, and relational insight, situating personal reconciliation within broader social and familial networks. These secondary arcs enrich the narrative and highlight the relational ecosystem in which emotional growth occurs. Pacing is deliberate, alternating contemplative sequences with heightened emotional intensity. Long takes, lingering shots, and reflective pauses cultivate intimacy, while moments of conflict or reconnection punctuate rhythm and maintain narrative momentum. This oscillation mirrors the real-life dynamics of love, wherein moments of tension, vulnerability, and tenderness coexist and shape relational development. Intimate sequences are choreographed for authenticity. A quiet dance exemplifies the interplay of physical proximity, gesture, and gaze in conveying layered emotional histories. Each movement, from a tentative touch to a prolonged glance, communicates unspoken narratives of trust, desire, and relational negotiation, reinforcing the central thesis that intimacy encompasses both verbal and nonverbal communication. Flashbacks continue to illuminate character growth. Revisiting formative moments, such as confessions of fear, early expressions of affection, and disagreements, contextualizes present-day hesitation and lingering attachment. The interplay of past and present underscores love as a cumulative experience, shaped by memory, choice, and evolving self-awareness. Cinematography and editing are employed to reinforce psychological and emotional states. Camera angles, framing, and motion capture relational tension, while editing rhythm aligns with narrative pacing. Tracking shots communicate anticipation and hesitation, while tight close-ups reveal micro-expressions and subtle shifts in effect. These visual strategies allow viewers to inhabit the characters' inner emotional worlds fully. Music evolves alongside character arcs. Themes associated with Noah and Nick subtly shift in instrumentation, tempo, and harmony to reflect growth, reconciliation, and renewed intimacy. Non-diegetic and diegetic sounds are balanced against silence to amplify emotional nuance, ensuring each scene resonates across multiple sensory dimensions. Conflict resolution is depicted as gradual and authentic. Reconciliation emerges through dialogue, vulnerability, and mutual acknowledgement of past and present experiences. By emphasizing negotiation, patience, and honesty, the film portrays love as dynamic and evolving rather than static, aligning narrative form with thematic intent. Production choices are meticulous. Location selection, lighting calibration, spatial composition, and rehearsal sequences are designed to maintain emotional continuity across present and flashback scenes. Symbolic props, color palettes, and environmental details reinforce thematic resonance, blending design with performance seamlessly. Cultural resonance is significant. Streaming distribution allows global audiences to engage with Spanish-language storytelling, while universal themes of love, reconciliation, and personal growth ensure cross-cultural accessibility. The trilogy demonstrates the power of serialized narrative in sustaining audience engagement, with Our Fault serving as the narrative culmination that honors both literary source material and cinematic development. The conclusion synthesizes narrative, emotional, and thematic strands. Noah and Nick's reunion is tender, layered, and emotionally satisfying, emphasizing communication, trust, and the willingness to embrace vulnerability. Resolution is ongoing rather than finite, reinforcing the central motif that love requires continuous attention and active participation. Ultimately, Our Fault represents a convergence of cinematic craftsmanship and emotional storytelling. Meticulous attention to performance, cinematography, production design, music, and symbolic motifs produces a narrative that is both intimate and universally resonant. The film portrays reconciliation, personal growth, and enduring affection with nuance, offering a meditation on memory, love, and the human capacity for transformation. Its enduring appeal stems from the interplay of realism, emotional depth, and visual sophistication. By depicting relational complexity, unspoken tension, and the slow accumulation of intimacy, the film provides audiences with both emotional catharsis and reflective engagement. Each scene, gesture, and motif contributes to a cohesive exploration of human connection, illustrating the transformative power of love, memory, and reconciliation. The opening of the main wedding sequence immediately establishes a visual and emotional contrast. The grandeur of the venue, with its sprawling floral arrangements and cascading lights, contrasts with the subtle isolation felt by Noah and Nick. While the crowd engages in celebration, their attention is inward, highlighting the persistent tension between social performance and private emotion. The filmmakers employ wide-angle shots to capture the space and intimacy-focused close-ups to reveal the nuanced psychological landscape of the protagonists. Camera movement accentuates narrative rhythm. Tracking shots follow Noah and Nick as they navigate the crowded hall, emphasizing the oscillation between avoidance and approach. When the camera lingers on them from a distance, it reinforces emotional separation. When it draws closer, the audience senses tentative reconnection. This visual storytelling mirrors the internal negotiation between desire, fear, and memory. Flashbacks are seamlessly interwoven, triggered by environmental cues such as music, conversation, or lighting. A late-night rooftop scene from their past, bathed in muted city lights, recontextualizes present tension, demonstrating that memory is active in shaping contemporary choices. The contrast between past spontaneity and present restraint deepens audience understanding of the protagonist's complex relational history. Music composition reinforces emotional subtext. Delicate piano sequences accompany moments of reflection, while sweeping orchestral arrangements emphasize emotional revelation. Silence punctuates these moments, allowing microgestures and fleeting expressions to communicate layered meaning. The auditory design amplifies narrative subtlety, guiding audience empathy and engagement. Production design extends thematic nuance. Noah's apartment, with muted tones and precise organization, reflects her need for control and stability. Nick's spaces blend inherited formality with personal expression, visually conveying the tension between obligation and authenticity. The wedding venue operates symbolically, simultaneously representing social celebration, personal thresholds, and the potential for reconciliation. Costume design communicates internal states. Noah's structured attire reflects discipline and guardedness, while occasional softer fabrics convey emotional openness. Nick's wardrobe alternates between formal and casual expressions, illustrating the tension between societal expectation and personal desire. These choices embed character psychology visually, enhancing narrative depth without explicit exposition. Conflict unfolds with psychological realism. Disagreements between Noah and Nick arise organically from past history and emotional wounds. Extended sequences emphasize reflection, negotiation, and patience, illustrating that reconciliation is a gradual process. Tender moments punctuate conflict, reinforcing that love's complexity involves both challenge and intimacy. Symbolic motifs permeate the film. Mirrors, reflections, and thresholds signify introspection and transition, while water imagery conveys emotional clarity and renewal. Light and shadow articulate vulnerability versus guardedness. These motifs operate in tandem with dialogue and performance, creating interpretive richness and reinforcing thematic coherence. Supporting characters enrich narrative texture. Jenna and Lion exemplify stability and trust, serving as narrative foils to the protagonist's tension-filled journey. Marta Hazas, Yvonne Sanchez, Goya Toledo, and Victor Varona offer humor, guidance, and relational contrast. Their presence situates the main arc within a broader social ecosystem, emphasizing that reconciliation occurs within interconnected relationships. The pacing of the film fosters immersion into psychological landscapes. Long takes, reflective pauses, and lingering close-ups cultivate intimacy, while heightened emotional interactions provide narrative rhythm. This oscillation mirrors relational reality, where moments of reflection, conflict, and tenderness coexist and influence growth. Intimate scenes are choreographed for authenticity. A quiet dance exemplifies layered communication through gaze, gesture, and body orientation. Physicality reflects relational negotiation, every touch, glance, and pause communicates history, vulnerability, and emotional recalibration. These sequences reinforce the thesis that intimacy is both verbal and nonverbal, accumulated over shared experience. Flashbacks contextualize present behavior. Revisiting formative moments of vulnerability, early expressions of desire, and disagreements illuminates ongoing hesitation and residual attachment. Memory, as a narrative tool, underscores love as a continuum shaped by past experience, present reflection, and evolving emotional intelligence. Cinematography and editing reflect psychological nuance. Tight close-ups capture fleeting micro-expressions, wide shots situate interactions within spatial and social context. Tracking, pans, and stationary shots mirror hesitation, anticipation, and reconciliation. Editing rhythm aligns with narrative pacing, allowing tension, reflection, and resolution to unfold organically. Music adapts alongside relational development. Themes associated with Noah and Nick evolve subtly in harmony, instrumentation, and rhythm to reflect emotional growth and renewed intimacy. The interplay of diegetic and non-diegetic sound, alongside silence, amplifies resonance, ensuring emotional beats are both heard and felt. Conflict resolution emphasizes gradual authenticity. Reconciliation occurs through dialogue, mutual acknowledgement, and the willingness to confront vulnerability. The film presents love as evolving and negotiated, diverging from simplified romantic closure, highlighting relational endurance as central to its thematic core. Production decisions ensure emotional continuity. Location selection, lighting calibration, and blocking maintain cohesion across present-day and flashback sequences. Props, color palettes, and spatial arrangements reinforce thematic motifs and character psychology, integrating design seamlessly with narrative. Cultural resonance is amplified through global distribution. The film's universal exploration of love, reconciliation, and personal growth transcends linguistic and cultural boundaries, making it widely relatable. As part of a trilogy, Our Fault sustains fan engagement across installments, blending source material fidelity with cinematic expansion. The conclusion synthesizes emotional, thematic, and narrative strands. Noah and Nick's reunion is tender, realistic, and multilayered. Resolution is ongoing, highlighting that love requires sustained effort, trust, and negotiation. The narrative leaves audiences with a sense of emotional fulfillment and reflective contemplation. Ultimately, Our Fault integrates cinematic craftsmanship and emotional storytelling. Performance, cinematography, production design, music, and thematic layering converge to create a narrative that is intimate, universally resonant, and profoundly human. By portraying reconciliation, growth, and enduring affection with sophistication, the film provides a meditation on memory, love, and relational transformation. The film's enduring appeal derives from its realism, psychological complexity, and symbolic richness. By exploring memory, tension, and intimacy over time, it offers audiences a reflective experience, engaging both heart and intellect. Each scene, gesture, and motif contributes to a cohesive exploration of love's transformative power and the ongoing journey of connection and forgiveness. The narrative places significant emphasis on the physical and emotional choreography of social spaces. In the early wedding sequences, Noah and Nick traverse crowded rooms, negotiating proximity while attempting to maintain composure. The filmmakers employ strategic camera positioning to emphasize their simultaneous isolation and connection within the crowd. Wide shots establish spatial awareness, while close-ups capture the tension and longing that exist between them. This duality underscores the film's exploration of public versus private emotional experience. Body language is a continuous storytelling device. Small gestures, a hand brushing a napkin, a shift in stance, a momentary avoidance of gaze, carry immense emotional weight. These micro-moments are amplified by tight cinematography, allowing audiences to perceive the subtle negotiation of trust, desire, and unresolved regret. By focusing on these details, the film conveys that reconciliation is an accumulation of nuanced actions rather than singular declarations. Flashbacks provide essential emotional context. A rooftop conversation from the protagonist's past, illuminated by muted city lights, frames present interactions, showing how memory informs behavior. The film interlaces past and present fluidly, demonstrating that unresolved emotions persist over time and continue to influence decision-making, hesitation, and intimacy. These temporal layers add depth and resonance to the narrative. Music is carefully calibrated to accentuate psychological and relational states. Soft piano themes underscore introspective or reflective moments, while lush orchestral passages accompany gestures of reconnection. Silence is strategically employed, heightening the significance of unspoken communication. Music functions as an emotional guide, enhancing audience empathy and amplifying the impact of nuanced performance. Production design reinforces the psychological texture of the film. Noah's apartment, with its muted tones and ordered spaces, visually represents her emotional control and personal boundaries. Nick's environment blends formal inheritance with personal idiosyncrasy, reflecting internal conflict between societal expectations and genuine desire. The wedding venue itself symbolizes thresholds, emotional negotiation, and the potential for reconciliation. These visual elements align with narrative and character psychology seamlessly. Costumes articulate internal states. Noah's structured attire conveys discipline, independence, and emotional guardedness, while softer fabrics signal vulnerability and openness during pivotal moments. Nick's wardrobe navigates the tension between societal expectation and personal desire, alternating between formal rigidity and casual informality. Costume choices provide visual subtext, complementing performance and narrative development. Conflict is portrayed with subtlety and realism. Noah and Nick's disagreements are grounded in personal history, pride, and lingering emotional wounds. Extended sequences of dialogue, reflective silence, and tentative gestures emphasize reconciliation as a process requiring patience and communication. The film asserts that authentic love involves sustained negotiation, vulnerability, and emotional labor. Symbolic motifs are omnipresent. Mirrors, glass surfaces, and thresholds signify introspection, duality, and personal transformation. Water, whether in fountains, pools, or reflective surfaces, communicates emotional clarity, purification, and renewal. Light and shadow articulate vulnerability versus guardedness, allowing psychological states to be visually represented. These motifs reinforce thematic depth and narrative coherence. Supporting characters offer both contrast and thematic reinforcement. Jenna and Lion embody stability, trust, and mutual support, serving as foils to the protagonist's tension-filled journey. Marta Hazas, Yvonne Sanchez, Goya Toledo, and Victor Varona provide humor, guidance, and relational context. Their presence situates individual reconciliation within a network of social and familial relationships, highlighting interconnectedness as crucial to personal growth. Pacing is deliberately measured. Long takes, reflective pauses, and lingering shots cultivate intimacy, while sequences of heightened emotion punctuate narrative rhythm. This oscillation mirrors relational reality, where moments of tension, reflection, and tenderness coexist and influence development. The audience is immersed in the ebb and flow of relational dynamics. Intimate sequences are carefully choreographed. Physical proximity, gestures, and gaze communicate nuanced histories of vulnerability and desire. A slow dance, for instance, becomes a narrative microcosm of trust, negotiation, and reconciliation. Each movement embodies relational subtleties, reinforcing the thesis that intimacy is accumulated through both verbal and nonverbal expression. Flashbacks contextualize present behavior. Revisiting formative conversations, tender moments, and past disagreements clarifies hesitation and residual attachment. The interplay of past and present underscores love as cumulative, shaped by experience, memory, and evolving self-awareness. Temporal fluidity enhances narrative depth and emotional engagement. Cinematography and editing are integral to conveying psychological nuance. Camera angles, framing, and movement capture hesitation, anticipation, and emotional proximity. Close-ups reveal micro-expressions, while wider shots situate relational dynamics within broader spatial and social contexts. Editing rhythm aligns with narrative pacing, allowing tension, reflection, and resolution to emerge organically. Music evolves alongside character development. Themes associated with Noah and Nick shift subtly, reflecting emotional growth, reconciliation, and renewed intimacy. The interplay between diegetic and non-diegetic sound enhances scene immersion, while silence allows subtle gestures to resonate profoundly. Audio elements function as both narrative guide and emotional amplifier. Conflict resolution is gradual and realistic. Reconciliation emerges from dialogue, mutual acknowledgement, and willingness to confront emotional history. The film emphasizes relational work, patience, and honesty, presenting love as evolving and dynamic rather than static or instantly resolved. This approach contrasts with conventional romantic closure, emphasizing maturity and emotional continuity. Production decisions ensure visual and emotional coherence. Location selection, lighting design, spatial arrangement, and rehearsals maintain continuity across present-day and flashback sequences. Props, color palettes, and environmental details reinforce psychological and thematic motifs, seamlessly integrating design with narrative and performance. Cultural resonance is significant. The film's distribution on global streaming platforms expands access to Spanish-language storytelling, while universal themes of love, growth, and reconciliation transcend linguistic and cultural boundaries. The trilogy demonstrates serialized storytelling's capacity to sustain engagement, with Our Fault acting as both a narrative and emotional culmination. The conclusion synthesizes narrative, emotional, and thematic threads. Noah and Nick's reunion is tender, realistic, and multilayered, emphasizing trust, vulnerability, and mutual choice. Resolution is ongoing rather than absolute, reinforcing the central motif that love requires active maintenance and continuous emotional investment. The ending leaves audiences both satisfied and contemplative. Ultimately, Our Fault exemplifies the fusion of cinematic craftsmanship and emotional storytelling. Performance, cinematography, production design, music, and symbolic motifs converge to create an intimate, universally resonant narrative. By portraying reconciliation, growth, and enduring affection with sophistication, the film meditates on memory, love, and human relational transformation. Its lasting appeal lies in the interplay of realism, psychological depth, and visual symbolism. By exploring tension, memory, and intimacy over time, the film provides both emotional catharsis and reflective engagement. Each scene, gesture, and motif contributes to a cohesive exploration of love's transformative power and the ongoing negotiation required in human connection.